baby, will you please?
And I might start on the spring right now. I want to reverse the eyes. Now this is called, let's see, this is called the eye of the spring, and see that's the standard way it's rolled, and we want to turn it around so it rolls upward, and that'll drop the front end maybe an inch. I think it's going to drop it about 1.5 inches really with the front spring, and it'll make it not set so high, even though that's what I was trying to do, is set it high, but when I had it all rigged up there, it looked too high. So I'm going to reverse the eyes. Now in the old days, I used to think, well, hey, I had to unwind that spring and then wind it back the other way. But actually all you do is you re-arch the spring the other way. So that's what we'll do now. Well, the first thing we got to do is take this bolt. There's a bolt right here that holds all the leaves together. So I need to take it off and spread the leaves apart. All we need is bottom. Now I could have bought this spring, gosh, already done, but it's about $15 more. But I didn't do it because of the money. I thought it would look really good high. Okay, I got it off. Now by the way, this is actually called the main leaf. So for reference point, I'm going to go ahead and trace it so I can try to, when I bow it the other way, I can get it to that same radius. And there's my radius. So we'll go over here on the press. Now this press, you've seen me use it for quite a few things, and it's really a nifty tool to use. I haven't used it. Matter of fact, I built that thing 15 years ago, and probably this is the most I've ever used it though. But on rear ends and where you have to press things like those kingpins on that axles and stuff, 15 years ago I was doing a lot of this kind of work, and probably 20 years ago, I'm sorry, but yeah, so I used it a lot then. But anyway, back to the press. Okay, I've got it set up. I've been de-arching it, I guess. It's not what I was trying to do. I was trying to re-arch it, but it looks like I'm going to straighten it out first, and then we'll get back to the to arching it the other way. I'm doing it about every 2 inches. Okay, this is a good shot. See, I'm starting to arch it the other way there. So we're almost finished. Well, that looks pretty good. We'll check it against my template here. Actually, I've arched it a little bit too much, but if you put the eyes where the eyes were before, it arches up the same height as the old spring. So I think we can bolt it together. Now when I put it back on here, see, it looks like that second spring is going to hit the eye. So I'm going to have to shorten that spring a little bit. Well, I put it over in the shear and just sheared it off as close to that little hole as I can, because I got to round it off now with the grinder to match, you know, what it looked like before. I drilled it for those little, what do they call them, slide pucks or something. So there's the finished product. I'd had to re-drill that. There's the one I cut. I'd like to have it a little shorter, longer rather, but it had a hole there, so I couldn't do that. Anyway, that's what the reversed eye looks like. So that lowered that spring considerably, I think. And it looks pretty good there. Well, that's a cutting torch. Now, in the old days, everybody used a cutting torch, and you had to have skill to use it. And but nowadays, they got plasma cutters, and all you do is push a button, paste, trace a pattern, and you got the metal cut out. But of course, plasma cutters cost $800 to way on up, $8 grand. So the cheapest one I think is $400 or $500, but they only cut like 16 gauge steel, and I'm cutting like 3/8 or 3/16 right now. I mean 3/16 steel now. So what I've done, I made a pattern here, and I've cut out 2 of these. So now I got to grind them up. What these are going to do is hold the outside of my radius rods to the frame. So that's that. Well, after you cut the pieces, that's where I just cut it out of. I put it over here in the vise, and it's a real rough cut. You can kind of see how rough that cut is. So I'm going to start grinding it, and I've got to take this hand grinder here and grind it till it's all nice and smooth again. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm not going to show you. Y'all seen me grind before, so I'll just show you the end product when I'm finished. Well, after I ground it, it's got a few more imperfections. It's not nice and smooth, so we'll just take the file and file it down. Well, there we are, the pattern. Now, I thought, after I drew it, I thought the pattern was a little too short, so I went ahead and I lengthened it. You can probably tell here. I made about 3/4 inch longer. But nice, smooth edges. What I'm doing right now is welding this part of my frame where I pinched it. That means moved it in. We'll weld that up, and we're going to start setting our plates for our radius rods. So I'm placing them right now. Get them where I need them, drill them the holes, and then we'll weld them in. Okay, a couple hours later now. There's the finished product. The reason why this is sticking out so far here, I've got to get a lock nut to put on there. And that's 11/16. I don't have 11/16. Well, I went ahead and started on my spring perch, and I drew up a couple patterns. And here's one. Let's see if I can show it to you. And that's going to go around that pipe down there, and then come up here and catch this. So I went ahead and took the torch and cut it out of some like 3/8 material, and there it is. I've cut it out, and that's about as good of a cut I can do. I get kind of nervous, and so now, as you can see, right there's a good shot. We're going to have to grind that to match. So I've been grinding a bunch of others. You can see here where I've been grinding and smoothing all that up. So that's what I'm doing now, just a lot of grinding. I'll probably eat up a couple grinding wheels to shape that up. But if I was a better cutter, you see, I wouldn't have to grind so much. But I'm a little shaky. But there's the whole front end. It looks pretty cool. I'll show you what it looks like from the front. Yeah. Got kind of a cobra look to it there, doesn't it? Well, anyway, on to another project, or another part of the project. Well, I finally made it over to Star City Auto Parts, and I bought me a 9-inch Ford rear end. It's out of a 68 Ford truck. Off my banjo, it was like that. And it's cold today. I got my heater on, and I've got my Ford 9-inch rear end, and this is the axle flange that I need. I've already cut that one off. So what we're doing, where did I put it? Okay, I found it. So what we got to do is we're going to weld it on there like that. That way this forward axle, 28 spline here, it'll fit in our spiders we had cut. And this will carry, this hub here will carry the our bearing. And then our backing plates are bolted to that, and our brakes. So we'll have modern brakes, a modern axle, and an antique looking, axle housing. Well, once again, I forgot to show you what I did, but I'll try to explain it to you. I've got these spacers that fit right where the bearing fits right here. That's the carrier bearings. And then I've got another spacer, and it fits, let's see, it fits right in here in the bearing flange of the 9-inch rear end. Now, I had all of it bolted together, and I had that real long shaft going through the middle of all the bearings, and that kept everything straight for me. I wasn't supposed to tell you that. It's kind of like a trick of the trade, but maybe that's why I didn't show it. Well, I've been cutting brackets, and anyway, I want to get you up to date with what I've been doing here. And I've cut these spring brackets for the rear end. And there's the spring. That's how it's going to be mounted. And I did that the same way I did the front ones. But now we're making a bracket. We're going to make a bracket for this piece here to hold the spring. And I was awful shaky. No matter how many beers I drank, I'm still too shaky with the torch. So I got Ray over here to cut these out. That's Ray. Known him since the 3rd grade. And here's what he's going to try to cut out. So we'll see if he's any less shakier than me. First choke. There's our bracket, the rear bracket. I went ahead and drilled the holes in it and cut it in half. We had to grind the inside of the hole out a little bit to make it fit our cross member. So I'll show you a shot of that as soon as we get it tacked on. Let's see. There we are. Pretty cool looking, really. This is how I drill all the holes for the brackets. What What I'll do is change bits here in a minute and put a bigger bit in it. Uh-oh. There we go. You might have noticed I've been jumping around a lot on this thing, and I've got my heat on here. Let me go turn it off. But I've been jumping around on the things I work on. We've got the rear end on. And I got the body squared up. I'm going to put the subframe. I'm going to put that subframe in the body today too. I'm going to try to do that. I had to take it all out. What we done before was it was out of square. So right now I'm kind of working on this rotor. It's an early Ford brake kit for the early Ford spindle. So we can put like 70 to 71 rotors and disc brakes on it. So there's our rotor. And those are some things I got with the kit. I've got to hammer this adapter on, and I'm gonna heat it up and hammer it on there. And then that new bearing and race and a spacer goes in the rotor. But that's what I was going to do today. I had a little bit of money, so I went out and bought 2 new rotors, which leads me to a funny story. You know, I went to this junkyard because, you know, I'm trying to keep this thing the budget down, right? So here, I'll tell you this in a minute. You know, I went and bought new rotors at the van store, and they've got a lot of good parts and stuff and cheap and everything, so I have new rotors. But that wasn't the case. I was trying to keep this budget below $3,500, which is nearly impossible. So I went to this junkyard to go buy some used rotors, and I thought, well, I can get the calipers and I can get all the brake lines, rubber brake lines, these little fittings and things that I'm probably going to have to go to the junkyard and get anyway. Well, I go to the junkyard, I walk around about an hour and a half, and I find 2 Trans Ams, 70 Trans Ams. I can use the rotors off that. So then I go down to talk to the guy, wait, he has to talk to 2 or 3 different people. And finally gets my turn, and I tell him what I want. I asked him how much it's going to be, and he goes, you don't want to use that. He goes, you can buy new stuff cheaper and I can sell it to you. The scrap prices are way too high. He goes, you don't want to use that. What are you putting it on? So I told him what I was making. I was making a RatRod. It looks like a 2829 A model, and like a what they call a T-bucket A model like. And then he asked what motor I'm putting in it, right? So I go, well, I've got a 4-cylinder Ford motor, like a Pinto motor. It came out of my old Ranger. You've seen my old red truck. I was going to use that motor. You don't want to use that. You want to use a diesel motor, he says. Okay, whatever. So then, after he said his piece and whatever, I said, hey, I noticed a tank. He had a really nice round tank. It was about that diameter, about that long. It was an air tank on a semi-truck. And I was thinking, hey, that'd make a great gas tank, you know. So I asked him how much he wanted for the tank. He goes, what are you using it for? Well, I thought about making a gas. You don't want to use that, he says. I couldn't even finish the statement, right? You don't want to use that. So then, okay. So I leave. I put my head down and I leave. And I get in the car and we're backing out of the place. And the guy comes running up and he goes, well, if you really want those rotors, I can sell them to you for $25 a piece. Now, I probably should have bought them for that because these cost me $60 for 2 new rotors, and I didn't get the calipers or anything. I didn't get any of that. But there was like 8 people already there. It said, and he told me right in front of them, you'd be a fool to buy used stuff when you can get new stuff so cheap. So I thought, well, I'm not going to go back and get them in front of all those people, so they know the fool I am, which I am, I guess. But at any rate, then he felt real sorry for me, I guess. And he goes, you know, I was up there a while back and we found in one of these trucks these beer kegs, and a lot of people use beer kegs for trash, you know, for gas tanks. And But then I didn't want that. I wanted that air tank, and he talked me out of the air tank because you had to put baffles in it, vent this, vent it, and all this stuff you have to do. Well, I'd have to do that to the beer keg too. Plus, it's aluminum, which is even harder to weld, other than steel. So I just left. So I spent all day, not all day, but almost 5 hours in this junkyard, talking to this guy and looking for parts, and coming home empty-handed. So what I've done is not work on the car for maybe 3 weeks, saved a little money, and went and bought some new rotors. So that's what I was going to show us, show you guys how to put the rotors on. Then I noticed the kit I bought don't even have the outer bearings, so now I've got to run to the store again. So I guess I'll postpone that and maybe start on these, start on that subfloor. Here's those pieces we cut out. So I guess I'll do that so I can get something done today. Well, the direction says to heat up this adapter ring to 400 degrees in your oven. And down here I don't have an oven, so I'm not going to get this thing cherry red, but I'll heat it up some with the torch. And I don't think I can do it that way. I'm going to I can't heat it up this way. I'm going to turn the camera off, I guess, and try to get something out here to heat this up on. I didn't think about that. Well, I must have heated up the adapter too hot because it slid right on. I didn't even have to hammer it or anything. But there they are. I got both sides done. Ray walked in to help after the fact. But hopefully when that gets cold, it'll be locked on there, a nice tight fit. Okay, well, when it cooled off, it fit on there pretty good. I mean, it's nice and tight. It shrunk back down. And so I had to, the bearing came with the kit. It slides on there. And I had to put a new race in here. I'll show this to you. Had to knock a new race in and a spacer. It was like an 1/8 inch spacer in there. So then we'll slide that on. See if I can do it with one hand and show you. There's that. Let's see, I can't get it in a position. Hold on. There we go, maybe, huh? Okay, so slide it on there. Put the other bearing in. I had to go buy one, by the way. And then it gives me another spacer. And then my regular washer, it's got the keyway in it. That's so the nut doesn't back off. Okay, that's a 1940 Ford spindle with 1977 Chevrolet disc brakes on it so far. Now that's not all of it. I didn't put the caliper kit on yet. I just wanted to put these on here so we can roll it around the shop. So meanwhile, I got my subframe welded in. So on that last, I don't know if we showed it on TV, but my body was out of square, so I had to cut all that other stuff out, square it up, weld that back in, and now we're all set. I want to sit here. I fixed a chair for my brother. It's a pretty nice chair, so I thought I'd sit down here while I was looking at my car and talk about hot rodding. You know, Boyd Cunningham just died. They said he was a leader, but he was in the hot rodding field. But I think he also took us away from what hot rodding was all about. You know, when you start building hot rods for money, you start letting the people that's paying you dictate what a hot rod. This all started probably 20 years ago, I think, when Outlaw come out with their bodies, and everybody was building 34 Chevrolet fiberglass bodies. And what happened was they made a really nice body. It was a nice looking, and Chevrolets are hard to come by because Chevrolets are they're really expensive to build. So when they come out with this body, it was a really neat thing to do. But with this body, they gave a lot of accessories, and actually they made a whole kit car out of it, pretty much. So the first guys that built them had really nice looking cars. You know, we're talking about $100,000 cars. But after the years went on, not very many years, like 5 years, all of them looked the same. So it kind of took the hot rodding part away from it. Now maybe that makes me think, maybe I ought to explain to you what hot rodding's about. Some people, hot rodding might be making a stock thing as fast as it can be, and that's part of it too. Individual part of hot rodding. You're taking something common, and that's why they picked on Avon. Years ago I would have made fun of it. Is this RatRod thing. But RatRods are that's the purest form of hot rodding. That's getting back to the basis of hot rodding. And that's what we're building back here. So nobody dictates what your car looks like. You dictate what it looks like. And basically use what you have. Or what's easy to obtain. Or kind of rethink basic materials to make them look a little different than the other guy. And I think that's getting back to the roots. Well, there's my gas tank. Now it's going to set right in here. So what I've done was take some cardboard and made a template of the bracket that I'm going to use to hold my tank up. Now this is just one half of it, the right half, and it's going to weld, fit right in there like that, and dip down like that in the middle. And of course it'll do the same thing over on the other side. And let's see, this part right here, that's what my tank's going to be setting up on. Let's see if I can give you a visual here. I don't want to bend my tank, but it'll be sitting like that. And I'll have a strap going around it to hold it in. So I didn't show you cutting with the torch. We've did that, but I'm making out a 3/8 flat plate. So again, I did it in half so I can grind them and make them both symmetrical. Now people go, why didn't you cut it in one go? Well, it's going to be hard to grind both sides and get them looking the same. So I made them in 2 halves. They can both be ground perfectly, weld them back together, and we're all set. So there's the tank.